Malcolm Jamal Warner, R.I.P. Emmy Award-winning actor, Grammy Award-winning artist, human advocate, Malcolm Jamal Warner. He burst into our lives in the 1980s to the early 90s with The Cosby Show as Theo. Malcolm Jamal Warner. I wanted to honor his legacy today by sharing some of the things that I've learned about this amazing man that he became. I connected with him as the young man that I was. We were similar in age. We kind of grew up together from middle school, high school, and into college. He was right there showing examples of how to grow up and challenges that he dealt with growing up. I could relate to. But I could relate to his story on screen, the Cosbys, as related to my life growing up in the household with the Williams. I was like, yeah, that family looks a lot more like what I see at home. Some of the other shows I could relate to a degree, but that wasn't my experience. And part of my activism in my life has been about working to reach back and pull out and save individuals within my tribe that didn't have that Cosby Show experience, upbringing. I'm back again with message 204, Project 365. And I think I got a little something for us to think about. I'm going to pull from my book, Something to Think About Today, a quote that honors the legacy of this amazing actor, this amazing person. And we haven't heard his name a whole lot. Every once in a while you see a movie that he might have been in, a show or game show or interview he might pop up on, but his success wasn't as loud as he got older, as when he was in the prime of his career. And it's interesting how that happens. These child actors, they grow into different things, and that's what we begin to see them as. And they spend a whole career trying to break free of the image that we lock them in as. So I want to just share this with you. Let me put my sounds back on. What will remain once you become the remains is your legacy. So be mindful of your deeds and how you live your life. See, once we say rest in peace, remember important people. If you're important, people are going to talk about you. People are going to think about you. People are going to miss you. So it's not just rest in peace. It's remembering important people. What will remain once you become the remains, once you lay and rest, your life is done. All that's left is your legacy. The challenge with these celebrities, these actors, these actresses, these athletes, is when they lay to rest, you got a lot of people talking, and a lot of people who monetize their highlight clip. But what I go looking for is, what was the last thing they were saying? What were they doing? What were they planning to do? And sometimes you start to see a pattern that makes you say, if that would have got out, if that would have blew up, that might have been a little bit disruptive to the same industry that introduced them to us. What am I saying? I'm saying that this gentleman who was part of a show that won over 40 awards, 6 Emmys, and 3 Golden Globes. You don't do that with a cast of shabby actors and actresses. You gotta have an amazing cast and crew and team, right? So the fact that he was a part of greatness, like, what did he grow into beyond the show? He was 19, 20 by the time the show ended, about 19, 20, 21 years old. Who did he become? So he goes off and he begins writing poetry, reciting poetry. Most people never heard about that. Go check out his poetry. Powerful stuff. He went to do some more acting. Decided to team up with Eddie Griffin. Powerful comedian who does a lot of truth telling, a lot of educating, which is probably why he isn't embraced by the establishment. Check out Eddie Griffin. He's still here to tell his story, to share his wisdom for those willing to listen, those willing to let go of some of the illusions we cling to, for whatever reason we cling to them. But they had a show called Malcolm and Eddie, and one of the things that was often talked about in the 4 years of their show was how the two of them didn't get along. You know, two brothers can't get along. Where is that? Is that a new narrative? No, it seems to be a common narrative, right? But what really wasn't spoken about was how Malcolm was really battling the writers and the show's producers, because you see, his agent had gotten him that particular job, that opportunity, so that he could advance his career, coming from all the success I just mentioned as a writer and a producer, so he can get himself in line to start shaping the narratives of shows to come, to do what the Cosby Show did, promote the American family. Some people saw a black family. Some people saw an uncommon concept for a black family. They were more familiar with Good Times and What's Happening, Sanford and Son. You see the struggle in black, but not what they considered black excellence. See, he wanted to continue that narrative to shed light on truth. Majority of people of color in this country are doing okay, but that's not the narrative. So Malcolm and Eddie was kind of directed towards being a clown show, and he was trying to make sure that the show showed how two guys working together could accomplish some things, to send that message. So they didn't talk about his fights with the writers, about that, about the narrative they wanted to put out and the narrative of the show that got put out. So him working with Eddie at a young age, Eddie's a comedian, going for laughs. Malcolm has come off the Cosby Show, acting with a message, and the two of them were at odds. I saw a video and looking to do some research for this particular message, and Malcolm in his own words said, "Hey, Eddie and I are good now. We look back, we're older, we're wiser, and we're both pushing a similar message. But then we were just in the midst of it." He said, "We didn't get along." He said, "But that wasn't the whole story." He said, "We agreed on one thing. If we get to 100 episodes, we're going to be in syndication, which is residual income for life. Which means when we start telling the world what we really want to say and what we really know and what we really see, we got finances backing us. We don't got to keep begging for jobs to stay relevant and to keep the lights on." The system knows this. So at episode 88, the show was canceled despite its success. 12 episodes from that magical number. Makes one go, But you're not going to hear about that in all of the different moments of media capturing and features capturing his career. You're going to see little Theo, maybe a clip or two of a movie or a show he was on, but not the messenger he became. So this is where messengers and speakers need to make sure that the folks paying attention to the show hear what they need to hear and begin to read between the lines. What do I mean by that? There's a hidden language that most people were never taught. We were taught adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. algebra, geometry, calculus, and trigonometry. We were taught all those mathematical systems, but we were not taught the system of gematria. What are you talking about, Johnny Williams? We're talking about a system that goes back to ancient times, biblical times, where letters that we use to construct words were assessed a number. And those numbers associate with that letter. And every time that letter is put into a sequence, it creates a combination. You add it up, you get certain numbers. Certain numbers in certain groups and certain societies mean something. So there's a language inside the language. And many of us don't know that we don't know. They call that gematria or gematria. Look it up. Research it. When some of your influential individuals go missing, have a untimely death, doesn't quite make sense, look up their name and type in that word and you'll get some different types of videos that start giving you some dots to connect. But most people are afraid to do that. But as a speaker, as a messenger, as an encouragement specialist, I try to encourage people to have the courage to see this life, see this matrix for what it is, not for what you want it to be, so you don't get played in it. You don't judge yourself in your lows and you don't feel yourself too much in the highs. You ride it out, enjoy the ride, and serve your purpose throughout the experience. So throughout Malcolm Jamal Warner's experience, well beyond the show, last major show was 2000, Malcolm and Eddie. He went on to become a renowned poet. His poetry is powerful, and his poetry represented his truth and who he really was. They drowned out that noise a long time ago. See, you got to think about the wordplay and the concept of how this powerful person was going to be exited from the game. What were they trying to drown out when using the concept of he just drowned in a beach on vacation, in a riptide? People like, that don't make sense. Not the first time I'm sure he's been on a beach. A lot of stuff doesn't make sense. So you got to start looking between the lines. For instance, in gematria, when you add up the letters making up the word, The Cosby Show, it sums to 54. What's the age that they say Malcolm Jamal Warner passed away? Age 54. Oh, Johnny, things happen, whatever. It could happen. Okay. Well, they like numbers. Number 9 is the number of completion. God's numbers are 1 through 9, not 0. 0 don't count. You come through the womb of your mother, it's 0. You come in as a 1 individual, 1. 9. After you get to 9, you go to 10. Now you put a 1 in front of a 0. You have a whole new creation. Man-made numbers, 10 on up. So, 9 is a powerful number of completion. So, he took his last breath on July 20th. 7 plus 2, 0 doesn't count, is 9. Year 2025 is a 9 year. 2 plus 2 plus 5 is 9. So that when you kind of begin to see what you need to see. And it goes a lot deeper than that. It goes a whole lot deeper than that. You see, the people pulling the strings that nobody knows about are those folks they call the Jesuits. Good, bad, or indifferent. They got power in places that you don't know there is power. And the people you think have power, the politicians you think have power, they're controlled by these folks. The people who control what goes on in the media and things like that, same folks. The power to manipulate. That's where you get Hollywood from. It's not Hollywood, it's just Hollywood. It's the Hollywood tree, the wood of the holly tree. The magic magicians of Disney. The magicians always had a magic wand. That wand was made out of holly wood. Get what I'm saying to you. Understand it's a game, y'all. Gotta figure this out. So they give this young actor, Malcolm Jamal Warner, the name Theodore Huxtable on the show. But we didn't call him Theodore Huxtable. We called him Theo. Theo in gematria sums to 21. The word Jesuit sums to 21. See? Theo, Malcolm Jamal Warner, passes at the age of 54. 54. 54. Watch how many times they say it. Who cares about how old he was? We care about the fact he's gone. At age 54. At age 54. Why do they keep saying it? Watch how they do this. Every time they show that somebody of importance or somebody they put in a position of light passes away, they always highlight a time or they highlight their age over and over. Malcolm Jamal Warner, being 54 years old, sums to the number of his age, connects to the gematria value of The Cosby Show, which is the main highlight in his career. Well, that's the main highlight they want you to focus on. But his nickname on the show, Theo, connects directly to Jesuit, 21 and 21. He died in the 9 year, 2025, on a 9-day, July 20th. So, you gotta start connecting dots. And for some people like, Jay, you reaching. Okay, I'm reaching. But you're gonna keep getting played when you refuse to play the game. You're gonna keep getting played. And here's what I want to share with you. As we say things like rest in peace, I'm gonna say not R.I.P., L.I.P. Listen intently to people. Right? So as we remember important people, R.I.P., I want to focus on L.I.P. What were the words coming off of his lips? So I went back and looked at that because that wasn't well promoted. Now he's everywhere. Clips and highlights and reels and videos and newscasts and all this stuff. I'm like, where was all this when he was alive a week and a half ago? Like, wasn't that important? But in death, he's important. We got to ask ourselves how we play this game and how we get manipulated and how people's legacies get manipulated. So we got to start looking for truth and speaking truth when we find it. So he was up to some pretty interesting things before this untimely incident. One, he was promoting his new concept of Black excellence. Black excellence being not what he projected on the Cosby Show. You got to be something, have some money, own something, be known by people. Black excellence. I spent a lot of time trying to do something with my own name. I spent a lot of time working with my brother to position and leverage his position, his name in pro sports. Black excellence. But I've come to learn what I heard Malcolm Jamal Warner say just recently. He said, Black excellence is just making it through your own experience in this country as a person of color. However you do it. Everybody's got their own different experiences, but we also have some collective experiences. And that's not a play for sympathy, nor a blaming of anybody for anything. There is a system in place. There is a historical narrative that's been skewed. There's a lot of agendas, political. FBI, CIA, whatever abbreviation you want to put on it, there's some stuff. They got our people in it, listed as people of color, Black, Negro, African American, that maybe you, if you're listening and your hue is not like mine, that you might not be on documents like that, that are strategically trying to wipe you out, separate your family, disrupt you, make sure you don't know where you come from or who you are. So you waiting on somebody to tell you. So this brother, Malcolm Jamal Warner, says, black excellence now to him is anybody who stands still in spite of all of that. That's black excellence. That means it's a lot of people, Colin, that can hold that title and say, yeah, I'm going to be excellent today. I'm not going to act like what I've been going through. I'm not going to treat you like you've treated me. Right? That's black excellence. Because a whole lot of people with 1 week's experience in the experience, it's easy to tap into the culture with the music and the soul food and all that type of stuff. But if you lived in our shoes for a week, you'd probably be ready to go to war. And our people aren't. You ain't got to worry about us. For the most part, we're going to go to war with each other. So, he was trying to express something. That had to be drowned out. That sounded a lot like the Cosby Show. Then there's his poetry, Art in Motion. Look up Malcolm Jamal Warner, poetry. You're going to see some things. You're going to hear some things. Very well put, but very clear and very powerful. His truth is his truth, but he does not sound like one of those Hollywood folks. He's come from a very real place. And his words resonate with people who walk the truth. So, something I would suggest you check out. Because right now, you're going to get drowned out with a bunch of Cosby Show clips. And a bunch of people saying rest in peace. I'm saying LIP. Listen intently to what people are saying. Lastly, he launched a new podcast. And I think this might have been something that was going to be a little bit disruptive. Because he couldn't shake the narrative on his own show, Malcolm and Eddie. He said, nah. That's the name of his podcast. Nah. N-A-H. Like, nah, not that one. Nah, not me. But nah is an acronym for not all hood. Meaning, stop projecting all black people as if we just come from the hood. When people don't come from the hood, oftentimes they're born into it, or they were placed into it, or it was a trap set. That's why they call it a project. Whose project? Because it wasn't ours. Why would we ever set ourselves up in a death trap? Trap music. Get what I'm saying? What comes out of the hood. So this brother was saying, stop with the lie. That's a false narrative. Majority of black people do not come from the hood. And those of us who are committed to the work are trying to remove as many brothers and sisters from that experience. But as long as people give people money to glamorize the hood, put forth a hood narrative across the world where you get to work and people think like, what's up, man? Come on, man. You seen a video, you seen a movie clip, you seen some actors acting out the hood and you think that's all of our experience? That's a small percentage of our experience. And if we actually get on business, it'd be even smaller and smaller and smaller. But it's hard to shrink something when it's so profitable, whether it's privatized prisons that make billions of dollars, whether it's consumerism that makes billions of dollars, whether it's the music that makes billions of dollars. Oh, they need there to be a hood. But this brother was saying, nah, not all hood. He got 18 episodes out. 1 + 8, 9. Started that podcast in 2024. You can find it on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, a lot of different channels. If you need to know where you can get the clip, I went and found it. AI helped me out, helped me find the YouTube clip. So I want you to just think about taking a listen. Because I want you to hear his message. I want you to hear who he became as a man from his mouth. Because the narrative I see coming from all the different angles is a narrative that might draw clicks, might sway the persuasion of what really happened and why it happened. But I just gave you a little bit of game on how you can read between the lines. Read what you see. But you better be able to read that gap between what you see. You see? And that's what I do think about it, is I want you all to stretch your mind. I want you to have that neuroplasticity where we can get back to what's real and what's fake and not be played. So make sure you check that out. But I want to share with you a quote that came from one of his poems that it hit me. I was like, man, that's some deep stuff. And you know, on the Think About It podcast, on this particular Project 365, I typically only share my own thoughts because I know the truth behind it. I know the intention behind my words. I'm not carving out some wordplay from someone who might have said something negative after that thought, or had bad intentions, or maybe don't care about the very people I'm talking to. But I know my words, I care about who I'm talking to. So therefore I work from my own thoughts. But this is one that I'll share with you. He said, the art of being black is often an acrobatic act. I was like, hold up. Drop the mic, man. The art of being black is often an acrobatic act. That means you got to do flips and twists and all kinds of things. You know, the cultural journey from home to work, for a lot of us, is an acrobatic act. You may not see it because we come in and we say, hey, how you doing? Everything is great. But if we don't acclimate to the business office, the climate, right? The monetized culture, we pay the price for it. And if we backslide too far, where do we end up? We end up in the hood, or back in the project, back in the trap. So just understand that I'm for people. I'm for good people. I'm for God people. But there are people within this collective experience that do have a double scoop of issues and ish. We all got it tough. We all got to pull our bootstraps up. We all got to hustle and go get what we want. But when you got to get past people's blind biases, what they call implicit biases, unknown biases that people have, that were poured into us as children, slid in through movies. You don't even know that you don't even know that you said something. And when we call you out on it, you're in denial because you want to be a great person. And we know that you're a good person. But you got some ish in you that they poured into you that you knew nothing about when you were defenseless. You were a child. And some people got to live with a bunch of people that know not, that they know not, that they know not what they say and do. So I just say, in the hustle and bustle of it all, we all got hustle. We all got struggle. Yes. Nobody has a patent on struggle and the hustle. But what I will say is if you just dare to look just a little bit, you can see historically where this country has fallen short on protecting all of its citizens, not utilizing and exploiting some of its citizens, at the same time trying to manipulate the progress of some of its citizens while advancing other citizens. So, man, Malcolm Jamal was coming with some of that content. Kind of like the book I got sitting on my computer that needs to get hit. But it's not sure when it's time. Just because who wants to read the truth, right? So he gave me a little something to think about. And as I look at his legacy and the part of my life that he was a part of with that show, I may have to honor his life with pushing this message forward because he's not here to push his message any forward. So hopefully you check out some of the stuff I just mentioned. Check out some of his poetry. Go back and check out some of his Malcolm and Eddie shows. Go back and watch him as a young child actor in the Cosby Show. But definitely check out those 18 podcasts and let his voice be heard. Because I believe, honestly, to me, he didn't just drown. He was drowned. Metaphorically speaking. He was drowned out for what he was trying to get out. What he was trying to speak out. But never was his true voice amplified like their voice through his sitcoms. Just something to think about. I'll be back in 24 hours, God willing. Gave you a lot to think about today. And not to get you down, but to wake you up. So let's do what we always do. In spite of Some days we get good news and some days we get bad news. But guess what? How we choose to operate from that news is a choice. We're still here. We still got breath. We still got life. Brother Malcolm, he took his last breath. And now he serves as a reminder to us that we got to live while living. So that's what we're going to do. Tap that mental pencil and write yourself in another wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon. Until.